Wrexham had their FA Cup clash with Sheffield United. ESPN, not only did they air the game because they have the rights to the FA Cup.
And it's a big game, right? I think Sheffield United something like 40-something places above
70,
Wrexham.
right?
70.
This was part of the promo. Ryan Reynolds and it was like, they are 70 teams above us or whatever.
With his legs crossed.
Okay, yeah.
Always.
He was doing the promo as Deadpool. It was great.
Right. What is Deadpool? The blind one?
Deadpool is not the blind one.
He's the funny one.
He's the funny one. Yeah, you know who it is. If you know about rats in Mongolia, you know exactly who Deadpool is.
Deadpool, I know he's got 2 sticks because of the photos.
Yes. So you know who it is. So stop acting like you don't know who it is.
He got eyes covered.
Who's
the blind one? Someone's blind.
It's Daredevil.
How? He also wears red, does he not?
He also wears red. Anyway.
Salt of the earth.
Knows about Mongolian rats. Doesn't know about the 2 of the biggest brands in American history in the last 40 years.
These are our enemies. How do you not know where they come from? You got to know your enemy, my J.
Okay. So Wrexham has their match against Sheffield United. ESPN does a huge promo. Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds.
They're on everything.
They're part of the broadcast.
They were on the Eagles coverage. For whatchamacallit. They went. They interviewed Rob McElhenney at the Eagles tailgate.
Okay.
They were showing it in the background. He had like a whole tailgate section where we were showing the Wrexham game.
So they
what is that? The link? Were they playing?
Yeah.
You're gonna yell at me for that too? I don't know the link.
No, it's all. I'm only not gonna judge you on your rap based knowledge.
Okay. I will go to Mongolia and put them in your apartment, bro.
So they do a huge promo for this game, and they obviously
But it's also never ending. I mean, at halftime they got Alexis Nunes sitting in the owner's suite with Ryan Reynolds, bro. They put people on planes, dude, because of this game. It was everywhere,
right?
And I was watching this and saying, well, of course. You got 2 superstar owners. It's a cool story. The show's doing really well. The show's on FX that's owned by Disney. Disney owns ESPN. Why not use this as a promotional? Every time they cut to commercial, there's a commercial for, what is it, Welcome to Wrexham, the name of the show.
Right.
It was a never-ending, just a cycle of promotion for something they own. And MLS fans did not see it that way.
Yeah, so in and of itself, it's fine. They need to promote the big game, the big FA Cup match. Obviously, and they have this popular show that a lot of Americans love, so they're going to lean on that to get more people to watch the actual team and watch the actual matches.
If Ryan Reynolds calls you and says, yeah, I kind of want you to make a big deal about this, are you going to be like, no?
I hate to break it to you, that's the state of media nowadays. When somebody with if somebody with 1 more YouTube subscriber than us calls us and be like, yo, I kind of want you to talk about it. We're like, hey.
Bro, have you seen Mr. Beast making people not blind anymore? I should have given him my suits. You know,
so no, they obviously own the rights. They're like, all right, let's make this a big deal, and they invested time and money into promoting this game. And the main point,
it seemed like it was the game was taking place in front of the Hollywood sign. You know what I mean?
So
and not in downtown Wrexham. You know,
which Wrexham is obviously in Wales. But they and that was basically it. The MLS fans, several people pointed this out on Twitter. It's just like, all right, ESPN really making a big effort into this. They had the rights to MLS. How come they didn't do this even once while they had the rights to MLS?
I'm sure they did it once or twice, but I don't think they've ever had this much fanfare. You know what I mean? Around MLS. And I think that's the part. But also, MLS that didn't have a successful reality show on FX. You know what I mean? That you could kind of tie into. And I honestly think that if people are going to go like, oh, you never treated me that way, how come you didn't treat me that way? I'm a fan of insert club in MLS. How come I never got to see this kind of stuff? It's like, well, I mean, how many celebrity owners are there really in MLS? And I think that's why most people make such a big deal about Inter Miami. But I think the real failure here is MLS not seeing sort of the forest through the trees. And y'all should have there's so many great stories you could have done a reality show on. Imagine they did a reality show on anything. Let me just pick something at random. Oh, I don't know. 2 Latino comedians that do a show about you.
I mean, we're just tossing it out there.
It's almost as if we might have even pitched this idea.
It's almost like you could just call it
It's the Cooligans, buddy.
That's a great name for a show.
That's a good name.
And if only we had sat in front of the MLS people and said, "Hey, this is a good idea."
Well, that's been I think some people are upset that ESPN will go these lengths to promote this game for a team in like the 5th division.
Right.
But
It's a cool story, though.
it is a cool story.
You got 2 celebrities who buy this team in the middle of nowhere. No offense, Wrexham, if you're watching. None of us knew who you were until this. Look at Colo Blanco back in the chat for the first time in, 17 years? How long has it been?
Colo Blanco is, I think, 45 years old now. That's how long it's been.
This was part of his 7th grade. He helped us out.
What's good, Colo Blanco? OG.
I think the real issue with this conversation, because the conversation was emotional for some, a little emo, a little, oh, you never treated us that way. I get all of that, and I understand the sentiment. But this whole conversation on Twitter really took a turn when the pro-rel nerds showed up.
Oh, boy.
And that, when they stuck their thumb into this bruise.
They lifted their glasses up and they're like, okay,
well,
we got...
actually...
And that's an interesting point because the people are essentially saying that the crux of the story, and if we're just talking about, forget sport, the story in itself of Wrexham is the fact that they can, get promoted and win and be in the Premier League. And we've heard the story. It's a common story. We know it.
Yes.
But it's maybe to some Americans, it is so foreign that it makes it despite all the odds and blah, 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 and it can be inspiring. Maybe that, this is where people are being critical of MLS and simply saying MLS is not good at telling stories and they can't.
They're good at suppressing stories.
I don't know about that.
I mean, come on.
No, I mean, if the the main focal point of the story in football or soccer is that you can get promoted to the 1st division.
The whole point of the show is to try to get them out of the National League back into the FA.
But
or
even
the Football League.
Right, but even still, like, doesn't even that story get boring at some point? I mean,
no, because the stakes keep getting bigger. Speaking of Lone Star. Big stakes.
Okay.
Hey, Nico Guerrero.
Hey, your brother. Chat. We were just talking about you yesterday.
What's going on, baby? I think the stakes get bigger. If they're in League 2 next year, which they are now top of National League. Why do I know that? Because there's a successful reality show, and I look it up. Also, people ask me about it. I gotta be honest. Chris Scopo is a good example of someone who started liking football or soccer during the World Cup, and he was like, "Hey, did you hear about this Wrexham thing?"
Right. Chris Scopo is a comedian. If you
basically
don't know.
Just imagine a character that got kicked out of Sesame Street because they were too much like a talking garbage can. That is Chris Scopo. If you remember the video of the waste. The garbage man throwing the bags like not missing, and they called him like the Splash Brothers or whatever. They called him the Steph Curry of garbage. That's his company. That's the company he works for. This guy keeps asking me about Wrexham, so I've had to like look this up a couple of times. So I'm aware of where he is. He's not asking me about he's not asking me about the Vancouver Whitecaps, and that's not to say the Vancouver Whitecaps aren't important. That's to say no one has invested the time to make any club in MLS seem more important than how we just see them because we love them and find them. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why isn't there a reality show about some of these young Latin dudes that are at NYCFC? Or why isn't there a reality show about the front office at New York Red Bull? Why wasn't there a reality show centered around saving Columbus Crew? Why isn't there a reality show about what's going on with what's happening in Austin right now with Claudio Reyna changing positions and stuff? Why aren't there reality shows about this stuff? And it's not like you got to find a place to put it. YouTube happens to be right there.
Well, I like this. Mike Thomas in the chat says, people saying MLS needs to replicate Wrexham. That's like when some corporate manager tells someone to make a viral TikTok video. It doesn't work like that. And he continues. He said, Wrexham has the production, star power, and all the MacGuffins, which is great. Where you don't see it too often.
Word.
Needed for a successful show to hook people, it's not just something you can roll out of bed and replicate. I agree. I think MLS needs to find its own way, just American soccer as a whole.
We know, look, we're behind the scenes, okay? We're in the know, you know what I mean? We know some of these people. There's stories all over the place.
We're the soccer Illuminati.
Right? We are the elite. And Chritian doesn't like it because he's like, I need more rats around me, bro.
I'm going to bring some rats to the studio.
Do not do that under any circumstances. Get those Mongolians out of the studio. People are going to get so upset about this. Though the point I'm making is, there are stories everywhere, bro. Like we've talked to players and they talk about how difficult it is sometimes to assimilate to a new city or, so on and so forth. Remember when we had Daniel Shalhoub on during, I believe it was COVID.
He was might have been the first guest we had. At the lockdown. Second.
Second. And he talked about now he's in this big empty apartment and he's like learning to play board games and stuff and trying to find a way to assimilate more into the culture in the US and in Kansas City. These are all stories that would look great with, a little bit of music and B-roll attached to it. And these are the types of things that could get, even at the very least, local people into it. You told me today about a guy who plays in the lower leagues who has a massive YouTube channel where he talks about sort of his journey. It's like, you don't need to be a YouTuber to be on YouTube, dude. You can talk about the thing you do. Sure. Yeah. And look at the audience that this can create. And that can help your club.
Matt Sheldon, who just signed for Hartford Athletic,
AKA Matt Young Sheldon.
he does this YouTube channel called Become Elite, and it's great. And he kind of does that. You follow his life, his journey in being a professional footballer in the United States, and all that stuff. Okay.
Yusef Ricard said Red Bull reality show where they just drop off a foreign player in Newark and see if they can get out.
Yo, I'd watch that, dog.
Yo, I'm down for that. You got to make it to the stadium if you want to sign this contract, dog.
Well, I would say, as far as what MLS teams have kind of the best storylines as of late, LAFC did a 6-part
We Are LAFC
series in the beginning of their.
That's the thing, though. It can't be like a big promotional vehicle,
and that's sometimes it does feel that way, right?
No, it's what it becomes. It's basically.
But Wrexham is content. That too.
It's not though, because they show failure. They show the fact that the owners don't really know what's going on all the time. They had that one awkward episode about hooliganism. Like they've covered some of the things that. They've covered fans saying I don't know about these two. Eventually, it all gets spun. They own the thing. They're like, why am I looking bad in this? Change episode 8 immediately. Yeah. There is to some degree that. But it's not just, hey, let's make a corporate branded content.
No, I know that. It's not that. But at the end of the day, it is that. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
There's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And we've seen a lot of wrong ways to do it.
Correct. And it's just we know that the corporate sort of, using this documentary series as a promotional tool, which tends to happen a lot in American soccer, is not the way to captivate people into I really need to watch the sport. And Welcome to Wrexham does that in a way that not many
they show you old
pieces of media
crying.
Can. Yeah, that's the way to do it. There has to be
you gotta tug at the heartstrings. You and I need to pitch Je suis Impact. Now, everybody buckle up for this, okay?